Is Hearthstone saved? Maybe not, but I at least had fun yesterday. Quest decks got some much needed buffs, and I pretty much spent the entirety of my last stream playing only Quest decks, and I'm here to show you guys the results of my training. I really feel like there's a lot of potential in a lot of these decks, but unfortunately, we're already seeing a couple boogeymen from the previous metas become good again, such as Owl Druid and even Armor Demon Hunter. Yes, that's right, I said Armor Demon Hunter is apparently good, but we're not here to focus on any of that. We are here to talk about what is going on with the meta right now, as well as giving an analysis on the Quest decks that I was playing yesterday. I don't necessarily think that all of these decks are going to be the best, so I'm going to be using as much data to show you guys just how good or how terrible some of these decks really are. And just to show you guys what exactly I was playing yesterday, I was primarily playing Quest Warlock and Quest Shaman because they seem to be the decks with the most amount of potential with the buffs that they were given. And I also played a little bit of Demon Hunter, but I'm gonna be honest, even though I went 5-2 with this deck, I really don't think it was that good. I think I need to go back to the drawing board and see how exactly I can optimize this deck. But you know what? Here's the deck list right here. I'll go ahead and leave it in the comments down below if you really want to play it. I feel like it has a little bit of potential, but just needs to be, optimized just a little bit. So let's go ahead and ask ourselves the question, what is even going on with the meta right now? What's on top? Because it looks like Paladin is yet again on top, Priest is yet again on top, and Hunter is actually finding a way to become meta relevant, even though I don't believe I've seen that many people experiment with Hunter. Demon Hunter is at number 4, and then everything else is below a 50% win rate. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised to see Warlock in the position that it is in, but I am not surprised to see Rogue sitting at the absolute bottom because I don't believe the buff to the Rogue quest really did all of that much. So just going in and looking at the data itself, what is going on at Diamond through Legend in the last day is that there's been a lot of Beast Hunter, Hog Demon Hunter, as well as Menagerie Demon Hunter. Aggro is still extremely good right now, but unfortunately, aggro is starting to become not so good at top 1000 Legend. So what I believe is going on here is that these are just the decks that are going to bully the unoptimized quest decks, and now the meta is going to slowly start targeting these decks, and we'll see what is actually good in the next couple of days. But if you're looking for some, newer archetypes to play, you have Protoss Priest, or Fishing Priest, or Menagerie DK. The new decks that are still good right now are going to be Low Druid, Bandage Priest, and to a lesser extent, Quest Paladin if you are at the Diamond through Legend ranks. But I'm going to be honest, the top 1000 Legend metagame is almost completely different, where we're seeing Protoss Rogue good again. We're seeing Starship Rogue being good again. But the popular decks that people are playing are for certain Dollhouse Druid, Combo Wilted Priest, as well as Protoss Priest. These are the most common decks that people were playing yesterday, with a little bit of Control Warrior sprinkled in, and a lot of people are trying to mess with the Warlock quest at top 1000 Legend, but it's almost at a 50%. I mean, a 49.5% win rate at top 1000 Legend is really nothing to sleep on, because that means that this deck is maybe going through some optimizations and might become better as the meta develops. I have a lot of hope, particularly in Quest Warlock. But let's actually take a look at HSGuru to see what they are saying about the meta, because it looks like the most popular decks of day one were Protoss Priest, Quest Warrior, Quest Warlock, as well as Quest Paladin. Luckily, we're seeing two different versions of Quest Warlock, one that's going all in on drawing through the deck and playing Giants, and then another version of the deck that is just trying to complete the quest as quickly as possible. And for some reason, Doyen Warlock has a 55% win rate at Diamond through Legend, so we're definitely going to have to talk about that deck in the future. But looking at the top 1000 meta, again, the popular decks are Protoss Priest, Quest Warlock, Quest Warrior, but then you have Spell Damage Druid very quickly and very noticeably becoming the best deck in the format. If you look at the win rates, it is just the best all around. And you have Beast Hunter, which is pretty surprising, and Hambuff Hunter, which are probably the decks that people are playing specifically to beat Druid. The other decks, the other aggro decks really don't seem to be thriving at top 1000 Legend, but you have Armored Demon Hunter making a comeback to somehow out-armor the Owl Druid. This is just what happens on day one metas when people decide to make one class popular. Other people are going to start countering that deck to figure out if it really is the top dog in the meta. So now that we've looked at the data on 2 different websites, let me show you guys the decks that I was having the most fun with and the decks that I feel like have a lot of potential in this meta. Because I somehow managed to go 10-3 with my own version of cute Menagerie Shaman. The whole point of this deck is literally just a mulligan for 1-drops of different tribes, so that way I can just throw them on the field as quickly as possible and very consistently play my quest reward on turn 5. Because that's the whole point of this deck, is just to jam that quest reward and then suddenly win back the board through tempo. Somehow, this deck can work. I mean, this is the coolest screenshot that I had, where I was able to play Shutter Block into the quest reward, and I believe everything had +6 attack, +6 health, poison, wind fury, divine shield, and I think one more thing that I don't seem to be remembering. But that's just the power of this deck. It just seems to be very good at being a fast deck that plays the quest on turn 8, and then hopefully you can use your little minions in a very meaningful way, very similar to how Quest Rogue was able to use wisps and fireflies to just summon a board and steamroll the opponent. So I think that Quest Shaman has a lot of potential, and I will be making a video talking about this in the future. But if you look at the data of Quest Shaman right now, it looks like Menagerie, just going all in on Menagerie, is still the best way to play this deck. The quest really doesn't seem to be that important compared to this version of the deck, but it looks like my version of this deck with a bunch of 1-drops and different tribe minions is actually the best performing list out of all of the lists that you are seeing on HS Guru right now. So I believe that this deck might be kinda good, but this is about as good as it's gonna get for Quest Shaman. But moving on to what I believe is the best version of Quest Warlock, I have a very interesting take on a list that I really want to share with you guys, because I don't believe this is the perfect 30 by any means, but one thing that I really want to point out is how good Tidepool Pupil felt in this deck, as well as Brittlebone Buccaneer into Eliza Goreblade. I had a very sick turn, a very sick lethal, where I went up against 2 10-10s, even though this thing takes double damage. It was still 2 10-10s with taunt, and then boom! Everything had +4 HP because of how I was able to utilize my deck. This is a very interesting archetype that I believe is going to see a lot of optimization as the meta continues. It's just a matter of which version of Quest Warlock is the better version. Are we going to play the Cycle version? Are we going to play this weird Zoo Tempo version of the deck? Or are we going to play Control, which, if you want my honest opinion, I don't think the Control deck is that good. It feels counterintuitive to what this deck wants to do. It wants to create consistent stats every single turn and go face in order to end the game, and you have lifesteal in order to help you survive the early game of playing a bunch of minions and just trying to find your temporary cards, and then you have a great comeback with Reborn taunts or just charge minions that are hopefully sealing the game for you. There might be a potential of putting in like Elise in this deck, maybe, because if you could get the copy location, it could be really, really useful. But as of right now, the deck building restriction seems to be very difficult for Warlock to actually throw it into the deck. And if you look at the stats of what's going on for Quest Warlock right now, there are a lot of interesting takes on this list, except for the Menagerie Jugs. Really hate seeing this card. But there are people that are running Insidious. There are people that are trying to really utilize the Sketch Artist to only draw the Solarium, so you're all in on getting that quest reward as quickly as possible. I personally believe you need another card with the Sketch Artist, and that would be my list with the Table Flip. But if you scroll all the way down, the Table Flip deck is sitting at a barely 48% win rate, and even then there are some people that are deciding to still tech in the Royal Librarian. My version of the deck is literally right here with a 42% win rate, so it needs a little bit of optimization, but I still had a lot of fun playing this list, and there's a lot of potential with Quest Warlock. I literally beat an Armor Your Warlock yesterday with my version of the deck, so there definitely has to be some potential there. It just has to be said. But the one thing that I want to say is that I want to warn you guys, do not fall for the bait. Do not fall for the Quest Rogue bait. This is still an absolutely unplayable deck. I don't want to hear that No Hands Gamer went 9-3 with it. It's a very interesting take on the list because it actually can do something, and I'm not gonna lie, the buff to Underbrush Tracker does feel a little bit important. However, the survivability of this deck is still absolutely not there. What is Quest Rogue beating? It's barely beating itself. It is negative against every single class at Diamond through Legend, and if you go to top 1K Legend, it just get absolutely worse. You've got one win against Shaman in order to maybe give this deck a little bit of validity, but oh my god, a 23% win rate at top 1000 Legend. This deck is still laughably unplayable. At Diamond through Legend, it is barely above a 30%. The buffs did help. It did raise its win percent by a whopping 10%, but 20% to 30% is still not that impressive of a change. And if you take a look at the decks, you just want to cry. You just want to cry every single time that you look at one of these decks. 27% win rate, 29% win rate, 29.5% win rate, and the only good version of this deck is essentially a pseudo Cycle Rogue, where I am not kidding when I say this, but if you're playing this version of the deck, it is unironically better for you to just mulligan the quest out of your deck so you draw the potential of hitting your Playhouse Giants as early as possible. So why even play the quest is really the biggest question that I have for this version of the deck. Just play Cycle Rogue. Apparently, you know, HSReplay was saying that Protoss Rogue and Starship Rogue might be playable decks, but some Rogue players might be very disappointed in not having any new cards to really mess with, because unfortunately, new cards don't work for Rogue, and it just gets sad when you look at top 1000 Legend where there's not even a deck with 50 games to back it up. So here's my ultimate take at what's going on with the meta right now. Is probably going to become very combo oriented because we do not have these aggro decks that are going to keep the combo decks at bay. Aggro Demon Hunter was pretty much filling that role, and now it's pretty much doing that role by itself. If maybe Hunter can be a class that can stop combo and Warlock can be a deck that can stop combo, we might see a meta thrive on more minion-based strategies. But if you want my honest opinion, I believe that the combo decks are about to take over. So what do you guys think about the meta right now? Did you guys find a way to have fun? Because I did, honest to God, have a fun time playing the meta yesterday. But as we all know, when it comes to Hearthstone, one day is good, the next day is terrible, and then the day after that can be even worse. So let me know if you guys are hopeful about the meta in the comments. I'm going to continue to do everything I can to find as many interesting decks to relay to you guys. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you for the next video.